Let's take a look at how the interface of After Effects is designed, so you can begin to get comfortable navigating in the application. I'm going to be working in a project I have already built, but please feel free to follow along using any After Effects project. Now, it's important to know there are many different panels, buttons, switches, and options to the interface. And in this video, we will be focusing on the main elements of the interface to get you up and running quickly. To determine how the elements are laid out within the interface, we need to first set our workspace. So in the menu bar, I'm going to go to Window, Workspace, and make sure I am set to the standard workspace. Different workspaces are designed for different job tasks. For example, if I were doing a text-heavy animation, I might use the text workspace. But again, we will make sure we are in the standard workspace. And if your interface still doesn't look right, you can come down here to reset standard, to save, layout. Now I want you to come to the upper left portion of the interface and click once to make sure this panel is active. This panel is the project panel. And I know because it's named in the upper left corner. And to the right of the name, you will see 3 lines. If you click on those 3 lines, that will give you access to the panel menu, which give you settings specific to the individual panel. You will notice these lines repeated throughout the different panels in the interface. Now, the project panel is where you will import and organize all the elements you will be using. To build your After Effects projects. Now, in this project, I have already organized everything into folders. So I'm going to go down to the bottom folder where it says video footage, and to look in that folder, I will click the triangle to the left of the folder, and then I will click once on top video clip, and that will load up a preview here on the top of my project panel. And they also show me some important settings about the format of that file itself. Now, when you are working on After Effects and building elements, you will be building the things called compositions. At the top of the project panel, I have an AA compositions folder. And in there, I have the interface composition. So if I double click on that icon, notice now the timeline is active. And the timeline and the composition panel, which is right here in the middle of the interface, work together in conjunction. The timeline is divided up into 2 sections. The left side allows you to stack layers vertically, one on top of the other. So if you want to select a layer, I can just click once on that layer. And I know it's selected because it's bright white. I can turn its visibility off here on the left-hand side and click on the eyeball. and click it again and turn it back on. Now, if I want to change where this layer appears vertically, I can click on that layer and drag it down to the bottom of the timeline. And when I let go, now you will notice that it's hidden under all the other layers, so I can't see it. So if I want to undo the last thing I did, I can press Ctrl Z on Windows or Command Z on the Mac to undo. You can press that multiple times to go back multiple steps. Now on the right side of the timeline, this determines where the layers appear over time. And you notice the blue line has an element on top. That if I hover over top, it tells me it's the current time indicator. The menu that popped up is called the tool tip, and they are on by default. So if you are not sure what something is, just hover over top of it, and now the current time indicator determines exactly what frame we're going to be viewing in the composition panel. So if I click on this and drag left to right in the timeline, notice I'm viewing different frames in my composition panel. Notice also when I slide over different layers, you can see other elements in our composition. To know exactly what frame you are on, you want to look in the lower left corner of the composition panel. Here, this will tell you, or on the upper left corner of the timeline itself. As you're working in the interface of After Effects, you might want to look in the upper right corner in the info panel, because you will get little menu items letting you know that it was your last completed. Now you may have noticed we are working in kind of a circle. Starting with the project panel, then to the timeline, then the composition panel. Now I'm on the right side in the info panel. And if we come all the way back up to the start of our circle here, in the upper left area, we have the toolbar. The toolbar allows you to add different elements to your projects. For example, I could add a rectangle info here, or I could add cameras. I could add paintbrush strokes. You get the general idea. Honestly, 90% of the time when I'm working in After Effects, I'm using this leftmost tool here, called the selection tool. And looking at the tool tip, I can see if I press V on my keyboard, that will grab that tool. Now, you may have noticed whenever you click on the object, you have made it selected. So layer 1 is selected. When I double click on the composition, that is selected. When I click on the timeline, the panel is active. So when you are working in After Effects, it's very important that you pay close attention to where you are clicking and what is selected, because there will be different menu options made available, depending on which panel or property is currently active.